So, I have just got done watching the second episode of the 11th and final season of my favourite show, The Walking Dead. And now it is time to review this episode. So, join me, Lucamus Prime, as I review The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 2, titled Ancheron, Part 2. Alright, so, what did I think of today's episode of Walking Dead? So, I gotta say that, this episode was definitely, an improvement over the previous one, and it was far more intense in my opinion, and we're going to get to why, so, I'm going to be talking spoilers, guys, so, yeah. So, if you guys haven't seen the episode yet, I'd strongly suggest for you guys go watch it, absolutely. So, yeah, so what's the episode about? So, this episode begins right where the previous episode left off, where Maggie is hanging on to the rails of the crashed train, and she jumps off after losing her grip, and we see loads of walkers starting to pile on top of her, and the way they filmed it, it looked as though they were getting right on top of her, ready to devour her. But then, before we could see what happened, it cut to the intro sequence, and now I'm thinking, no, they did not just kill off Maggie. They couldn't have done that, not right after she's just been brought back into the series. So yeah, I didn't think she was dead, guys, and yeah. And I was proven right later, and I'll get to why. But I can assume that off-screen, she crawled under the crashed train car thing, because there was a bit of a gap under that she could have crawled under. So I think she must have crawled under it, to survive. Now, meanwhile, the rest of the group, they go into a train car, and they take down, the walkers that are in there, passengers who died. And they discover that, unfortunately, their way out, which is the train car door, is rusted shut. And then Alden realises that Maggie's not with them, and Negan denies doing what he did where he left her behind, saying that she was right behind him instead, and pretending that he's innocent in all this. And Alden wants to go out and look for Maggie, due to being really loyal to her, but others, especially Father Gabriel, say that Maggie would want them to keep going, so that's what we're going to do. Meanwhile, on the other side of the subway, we get to see Daryl reuniting with his dog, and then they enter a tunnel that appears to be an abandoned community for people that were homeless, and for example, we saw some walkers who were in sleeping bags who Daryl puts down, as a mercy killing, and we saw some graffiti. It looked like, murals of like artwork of Washington, D.C., and we also saw a man who turned into a walker who was handcuffed to a briefcase that was filled with loads of money. So, I wonder what his story was. It's very interesting. And then we saw some other things where he sees a note left by a former survivor. I think it was for his parents, I think. And yeah, it's very interesting what's happened in this, area, really. Like, it'd be cool if we got like a flashback showing how it's ended up like this, absolutely. After this, we then get a transition to the Commonwealth storyline, where we see that Yumiko and Princess are discussing Yumiko's brother, who they learn in the previous episode is in this Commonwealth, and she wants to find out where he is. But then Eugene comes to him really stressed out, and he reveals that Ezekiel is missing, nowhere to be found. So this is when Yumiko decides, enough is enough. I've got to go and find my brother. So she gets up, and she demands to speak to a manager. But eventually, after saying she wants to speak, she gets her wish, and she gets brought back to a question room, and then we get more backstory of Yumiko, where she reveals that she's a lawyer and that she's one assessing them, she's not one being assessed, because she's assessing them. And she calls out the tactics by the two interviewers for the details that she's observed, and, for example, believing they use money as their currency because they raked one of her people over the coals for a $2 bill, as she said. Then that's it. We didn't see her again until, later on, and I'll get to why. But then we'll then get back to a subway plot, where the group is struggling to get the rusted door open. And then after that, we then see, we hear banging on the door, so I'm wondering, so what is this, like, what's going on? And they wonder what it is as well, because they're thinking, is it Morse code? The banging was SOS coding, but nope, it's not that, because when they find the bangers coming from a trapdoor under the train car, so they open it up and it's Maggie. So yeah, she survived, by, I assume, probably by crawling under the train cars maybe, and she found their carriage. So they pull her in, and then she looks menacingly at Negan, and then she hits him with her gun and reveals to a group that he left her to die. So when the group is accusing Negan of trying to kill her, he says there's a big difference between trying to kill someone and not just helping them. This results in a big argument. So yeah, it's not going very well, sadly. But however, the argument is interrupted by banging. But this time, it's from Gage, the young character who ran off with Roy in the previous episode. He's on the other side of a train door pleading to be let in. But it's revealed that he's left the other doors wide open, allowing a large herd of walkers to follow him. And he's pleading to be let in. But Maggie wants to leave him because she decides that saving one life is not worth endangering the rest of the group, because the walkers would get in. Alden and Negan try to save Gage, but Maggie says, no, it's not worth it, and that if she lets him in, the walkers will come in and kill them all, between so many of them. But Gage, so they leave Gage, and he sees Maggie as a traitor, and then he gets his 2 knives out, and then he begins to stab himself. So yeah, and then the walkers begin to devour him, and that was a really gruesome death, guys, how he got ripped apart, his stomach, and that, it was so gross seeing it. Oh, goodness me. And then eventually he does turn into a walker as well, later on. So Maggie's decides to have to break down the door, and doing so unleashes the walker swarm to infiltrate the car, and engages one of them because he turned before the walkers could completely devour him. So yeah, he's going to get revenge on them in death as a walker. During this, during this situation, Maggie momentarily sets aside her differences with Negan by giving him a pistol to use. And so yeah, and one other thing as well that was interesting was that Maggie told everyone a story about when she found, certain things in, in Meridian. And one thing she found was, loads of, people that had been, mutilated and tortured. And that was a very interesting story. Like, it's a shame we didn't see that before, isn't it, really? Like, it would have been cool if we had, like, flashback episodes of Maggie's time in Meridian before she rejoined, the main group. It would be pretty interesting to see how that would be. And it also confirms that unborn babies can turn into walkers as well, as well. It's been confirmed from Maggie, yeah, because she said that an unborn baby was trying to cut its way out of its mother's stomach. So, yeah, oh, goodness me, as a walker too, oh, that's gross. So, eventually, they begin to burn through ammo and weapons, and meanwhile, Daryl is trying to find his dog, because the dog runs off after hearing some noises. He's able to, climb through sewers with struggle, but he takes them down. And eventually, he comes across Roy, the other survivor who ran away with Gage, who is played by C. Thomas Howell. And Roy is very badly wounded, but he gives Daryl a grenade, and he says if he dies, to tell his kids that he didn't die as a coward. So, yeah. But Daryl is able to, help him up, and, he rejoins the group in the nick of time. And then we got a pretty epic sequence where he's taking down the walker-infested train car. And the music in that scene was also really good. I've always loved Ben McQuarrie's music. And then he's able to remove the chair that's blocking his friend's path and takes them to safety. He then tells them to get behind something, and then he gets a grenade that Roy gave him, and he shoves it into a walker's mouth and pushes it down, and then we get an explosion, to take down the walkers. And oh, that was so gory, weren't it? Goodness me. Then we get back to a Commonwealth, guys, where Eugene is carrying a weapon in his cell because Yumiko's of course been interrogated. We didn't see her again, and Princess, while this was happening, went to the toilet, but we didn't see her again. She never returned, so Eugene's afraid, and then he gets taken to the interview room, where we get to see a conversation between him and Mercer. And despite Mercer being intimidating and Eugene having anxiety issues, he lies and he doesn't reveal the location of Alexandria. And after this, the guards transport Eugene with a bag over his head to a cell, which contains Yumiko, Princess, and Ezekiel. So yeah, they're okay. They didn't get, hurt or anything like that. And Mercer joins them, saying they're being welcomed into the community. He then knocks on the door to their cell, and a woman enters, which is Stephanie. Stephanie is a woman heard in the previous season on the radio talking to Eugene, so they've finally met, guys. So yeah. Now back to the tunnel drama. Maggie's group is able to successfully make it topside. But what they see is pretty disturbing and creepy, guys. And yeah, this was a pretty shocking moment because so basically they come across some sort of road where on the sides they have like loads of poles, and they show like loads of bodies strung up upside down, dead, lining up the road. And Negan comments about what the place has gone to. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a large amount of crossbow or arrows being fired at them. It was either crossbow or like, just, bow and arrow, but for the projectile of loads of them. And one of them killed Roy by shooting him in the head. So yeah, unfortunately, Roy got killed. But luckily, he didn't die a coward, thankfully, because he helped, Daryl take down the walkers with a grenade. So yeah, but it's sad that he's gone. And one of the arrows is able to shoot Cole in the leg. So he's wounded. And the group and ducks behind him for cover, and Daryl looks over to see a large group of masked people coming up to him. So yeah, that was, scary. And based on what Maggie's told them about, how she lost her community, which is why she rejoined the group, at the end of Series 10, I think this group might be the Reapers, guys. I've got a feeling it's the Reapers. And they look pretty scary too, wearing all the clothing and those, white masks. They look like hockey masks. I mean, it gave me the vibe of like, Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. It was pretty scary. And that's when this episode ends, guys. And yeah. But all in all, this was definitely a great episode. Definitely better than the first episode of Series 11. Much more intense. And, pretty good. I like how I developed the characters of like, Maggie and, Negan a bit more as well. Absolutely. But yeah. But the scenes with, Gage and Roy, like, Gage's death was pretty brutal, but yeah. But yeah, all in all, though, guys, this was a great episode, and I'm looking forward to episode 3 next week, yeah. So, guys, this is me reviewing The Walking Dead Series 11, episode 2, titled Ancheron Part 2. So, drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to leave comments of what you guys thought of tonight's episode of Walking Dead, if you've seen it. Also, be sure to join Team Prime by pressing subscribe for more videos coming in the future, and I'll see you all later.